Hardy and Michael Ford are coming. Ellen Wilkinson, the red flag, she is humming. We get around not as much as Dominic Cummings, even though he's driving blind. We are the Labour grassroots, where like-minded folk dwell. From countryside to city, it's warm and it's witty, the antidote to Pretty Patel. We are the Labour grassroots, time to raise a racket. The future is as bright as Crispin's red jacket. This is the space where we all go hell for leather, free from all the biased BBC blether. Like track and trace, we're better together, just as Carrie and Meg. Yeah, we got all the people from Inverness, Skegness, Barrow, Inverness, Chester, Leicester, Cirencester, Shrewsbury, Oswestry, Swansea, Hernackley, Barnsley, Beccles, Nottingham and Eccles. We are the Labour grassroots, time to plant some grass. Where we've always had social distancing between us and the upper class.
Welcome to Not the Andrew Marr Show. This is our third Not the Andrew Marr Show. We've got a fantastic hour ahead of us with politics, discussion, lots of camaraderie. You can chat. We're already chatting in there. Keep chatting. And we've got comedy, we've got music, and I better get cracking because there's so much to talk about. And we've got two fantastic newspaper reviewers who both stood as candidates in the 2019 general election. Unfortunately, they didn't get into Parliament, but Tony Benn said that politics is best outside Parliament. So it's good that they're here on the show. So we've got from the Truro and Falmouth constituency, Jennifer Forbes. Are you there, Jennifer?
I am. Hello, Crispin. Good morning.
Good morning. How's Truro today?
It's lovely and sunny, and I can't wait to get out to the beach later.
Oh, what a life. What a life. And let's find out how our second newspaper reviewer is doing today. How are you doing, Chris, in Sheffield?
Hi there, Crispin. Yeah, good. It's a beautiful day here as well in the Steel City.
So you're both up long. Have you been up long, Chris?
Long enough to read the papers.
and Jennifer, are you the same? Been
yeah, just waking up, hopefully.
Just woken up. Okay. Well, your first story for today is probably, it's inevitable. It's about the new restrictions on COVID that are coming in tomorrow, and the Morning Star is reporting backbench revolt over restrictions. What's your view on that, Jennifer? Do you think there should be these restrictions?
I think that we needed to have been taking safety more seriously through the entire crisis, frankly. What's interesting about this is that he's managed to unite right-wingers and left-wingers in dismay against him. Obviously, the right care more about the economy and the fact that these restrictions have been all over the place and nobody really knows what's going on. Whereas hopefully most of us on the left, we're much more concerned with the safety, and the fact that the messages have been so confusing. I think that has led to some people not following it sometimes in the way it should. But obviously they've been encouraging people to do things that are not going to be helping people achieve the best safety standards. So yeah, I think we probably shouldn't have done the eat out to help out and all of those kind of things that are undoubtedly going to be behind an increase in cases. So yes, we need more restrictions. I think they should be taking safety more seriously across the board, though, like with schools and universities as well.
So what do you think, Chris? Is that your view as well?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jen. I mean, the socialism is caring for other people, isn't it? And the whole way through this, that's the approach that most people have taken. But when the government is encouraging people to get back to normal, while seeing the spike that sadly we've had, and that sadly many of us, particularly as trade unionists, who have been, we've had people and members working throughout this, we can see that as soon as things got relaxed in the way they did, before we had track and trace properly in place, we've had it go up. What is really, worrying is the confusion from it. I think we've got to be, really as clear as we can in our communities, that we do have to look after each other. But the irony that you can go down to the pub and see people, but not see people in your own household. The irony that we're saying schools and universities and all who study there and the many thousands of people who work there, that's safe. The fact, that all of these places are so-called safe, but we're now in a position where these restrictions, which, I'm not against them, I'm just so sad that it's been handled this way. And one of the things that, we've seen is isolation and loneliness, and we're now in a position where, some of those people are not going to be able, those people who don't go to work, they're going to be in a position now where they're going to be isolated from their family again. And you just have to think, this surely could have been avoided. Obviously now everything's got to be about safety.
Yeah, I mean, I find it strange. The Welsh government's view on this is different. I saw something about them thinking children should be allowed to meet in bigger numbers than 6 because it's having a bad effect on their mental health, the children not being able to mix with people. So I can kind of see that as well. It's the inconsistency, though, that you're talking about that's the main problem with it, because people don't really know from one week to the next what's going on. I mean, and the other aspect of it is that the furlough scheme isn't really helping some businesses. This is from the Sunday Mirror. The small businesses are losing out, and the big businesses are doing really quite well out of furlough. If you happen to be working for a small business, you're struggling. What have you had any personal experience of that, Chris?
Not
or seen other people.
Yeah, not personal experience, but certainly, heard plenty of other people's experience. And it is, it's true to form, isn't it? That when there's public money to be handed out, sadly, it doesn't get to the places that need it most. Unfortunately, it finds itself in the pockets at those people that were actually doing all right and could afford to actually look after their employees a bit better anyway during this time. So, it's sad that the small businesses have struggled with the confusion, how to access this. If you're a business of less than 30 employees, it's not quite clear the route that you've had to go. And as furlough, is coming to an end for people who have managed to access it, we've got a very worrying economic situation to face. And I know, I'm seeing hundreds of redundancies a week across all kinds of sectors here in Sheffield. And sadly, this is the beginning. We've got a long way to go before things start getting better. And the government needs to get its act together, get some money where it's needed and not lining the pockets of their corporate backers.
Yeah. And Jennifer, have you noticed stuff in Cornwall? Has it affected small businesses in a worse way than?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So at Cornwall, we have higher than average numbers of self-employed people because our economy is so dire. It's one of the poorest regions in Northern Europe. So lots of people depend upon self-employment income and actually live in poverty even though they are self-employed. So yeah, this is the exact kind of area where the lack of plan from the Conservatives, even though we have all Conservative MPs in Cornwall, they still don't really understand the county that they represent. And there hasn't been enough support. But then you've seen, say, second homeowners don't even live in Cornwall. They're owning properties that are pushing up house prices, and they got £10,000 that the council just handed to them to help them through They might not even be running it properly as a small business. They just own it and they're using tax exemptions and things. And they're qualified when genuine small businesses haven't been able to access any support. It's the same as everything with Conservatives. They just don't really have a plan. They've got an ideology that's about supporting an economy, but they've got no idea how to transform things for the better. You can throw all the money around in the world you like. If you haven't got an idea about how you want to improve things, we could be spending money now on a green industrial revolution and bringing in proper employment for young people and transforming the way society is run and really improving living standards for lots of people. Instead, they're just frittering money around. Literally haven't got a clue. Saying you've got to have 30 people to qualify for this scheme is such a nonsense. There's such a small amount of businesses in Cornwall that would possibly be able to do that. It's just not going to help at all.
That's appalling. I didn't know it was that low, the number of people. Now, I'm going to move on to a really terrible story about the fire in the refugee camp in Greece. What do you make of the response to that from this country, and what this refugee in inverted commas crisis is not really taking into account that what's happening in Greece? What should we do?
We should be doing more.
Jennifer, do you want to?
Yeah. I mean, we should be doing more right now. It would be lovely to see all of those people that say that all lives matter actually stand up and say all lives matter now, and we want to help those refugees. We wouldn't see so many people trying to cross the channel if we did more to take people out of refugee camps, if we didn't make life so desperate or allow life to become so desperately awful even in those refugee camps. It's not really a place of safety or security for them. And we don't do enough to help people get from that position to restarting a life, do we? So I think that the UK as a whole actually really needs to step up. And I know a lot of people on the left feel that way, but we need to continue to push that, I think, through like mainstream discourse. We've let the discussion slip too far away because the right-wing press makes such a big deal out of awful stuff that Nigel Farage has been doing this summer with his migrant watch in the Channel. We just constantly have to counter that. Migrants are valuable people that we should care about and we should support. Refugees, they are refugees and we should be doing our very best for them. And I personally feel a lot of guilt that we aren't doing more as a country to help people in those desperate circumstances.
Chris?
Absolutely. I mean, Jen nailed it there. I mean, the reaction, to this horrible, shocking event, the idea that you come in heavier, you stay silent as we are doing as a country, and the way that you try to make the environment so difficult and so hostile. It's not addressing the problem, it's just making life more dangerous for those who already are trying to escape danger. This is the response of the Greek government here isn't good. We should be calling this out. We've got to, we should have, and I'm aware of other stories, but we should have the best reputation for internationalism. And at the moment, it's sometimes it's far from it, and the response is too silent.
Well, I'd like to sort of move on from that to something I saw in the Mirror, Sunday Mirror today, which was the Liberal Democrat. She was standing as leader, she didn't win, but she has Layla Moran has pointed out that the British were helping the Saudis to train their pilots in the UK, and obviously these pilots were dropping bombs in Yemen, and I find that unbelievable that could be allowed to happen. At the same time, there was a letter today there's a letter in the Morning Star that points out that Labour's policy at the moment is not to speak out against using our defence industry to support international other countries internationally. So when we're talking about Yemen, if the Labour Party is not speaking up against what the Saudis are doing there and actually helping them to get these bombs out there, I mean, how can we talk about refugees? I mean, we're creating refugees. What do you think about that?
Well, yes, I mean, you know, I mean, to take the two things there, really, isn't there? I mean, the humanitarian crisis that has been that's happening in Yemen for 5 years now. You know, we have been in a position where, as a party, we have spoken out about it. You know, there's been plenty, and, you know, we have to remember, you know, the members on this. I'd like to know what the members of the party's view on our position of Yemen, you know, but we should not be in a position, you know, I don't feel we should be in a position, you know, where we are allowing dry bomb raids to be coming from our soil, but secondly, that we are arming Saudi Arabia. Now, I know that that is something that went through the court. There was a court ruling, and then the decision got overturned in Parliament. But I feel very strongly, you know, that this is exactly when we talk as Labour Party members about our internationalism, the voice of the members on issue like this needs to be heard. And, you know, I've been to many a Labour Party conference where that has happened, and that, you know, we have had motions passed at conference. Remember, conferences is, you know, the sovereign part of our policy making, and we must shout out about that. And this is exactly the kind of thing that I think if Labour Party members could all have their say on what is happening, and our government's involvement in Yemen and on a wider scale, I think that we might have a very clear policy, and one that I'd agree with.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I totally agree with Chris on that. I mean, for me, it was one of those, another great sadness that we didn't win in December, because I really think that a Jeremy Corbyn-led Labour Party would have started to transform things on a world scale by us adopting a more ethical foreign policy, would have had such a big impact, because we are implicated in so many questionable moral actions when it comes to our military interventions. And again, with this, we're seeing it now with Yemen. So yeah, I'm really sad that this is happening. I'm sadder still that it's the Lib Dems that are calling this out. I think this, again, shows why we're actually quite fortunate that Layla Moran did not win the Lib Dem leadership election, because I think she would have given us a much harder run for our money, because she will speak out about things like this. So I'd like to see Labour taking a much more proactive approach against speaking out about where we're lacking in ethical foreign policy, basically.
I mean, it makes me feel a bit pukey when they talk about the defence industry, because it's not defence, is it? And it's not, and you can't really. I mean, I know there's people who need to have work from that particular area, but I just find the whole thing quite appalling that we're sending weapons to other countries, and then we're moaning about the complaints of refugees coming over here. It's just, I don't know. What do you think? It's Andrew Fisher, who worked in Jeremy's office as a policy. I think he wrote most of the manifesto in 2017 and maybe 2019. But anyway, he's saying effectively that we've got to get on with Starmer, and then there's some other people who are saying, oh no, we've got to hold Starmer to account and whatever. It sounds like a little bit of a drama out of nothing, but do you think that we should all shut up effectively about Starmer and just, if we don't like what he's doing, just keep it quiet and get on with it? Or should we call him out when we don't agree with him? And I'll start with Chris.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, we do have to remember that any opportunity to attack the Labour Party, that's what the media is going to do. So, you know, we do have to think about that. Having said that, this is quite a different piece. I have a huge amount of respect for Andrew Fisher, and you know, and there's points that he raises there which are important. I mean, I think it's got to be, you know, as a party. You know, we talk about coming together and having unity. I think we've got to look wider than that now, to be quite honest. The defeat in December was so huge. I don't think it's just a case of get unity in the Labour Party and everything will be fixed. I mean, I know from the general election in my area, you know, it's having the party, you know, in this, you know, are we behind Starmer? Are we against him? That isn't it. We've got to actually, you know, get our party working alongside our trade unions better and inside our communities. And I think that's the answer to all of this. There are certain people who don't want the left to have a voice in this party, and the left is a very loud voice in this party, and it should continue to be so at every opportunity we have. But every opportunity isn't restricted to just within the Labour Party as well. And perhaps, you know, what I want to see is, I don't want to see a watering down of socialist policies that were popular with many on the doorstep. I don't want to see them going for the sake of who is or isn't leading the party. For me, keeping the policies there is the key thing. And that's, you know, that's what we need. You know, as we said, we want our shadow cabinet to be making sure that they come out and keep that in place. But the best way to do that is obviously to have, you know, a movement in our communities and in our workplaces. And as well as us as members, that pressure without will keep our party where it needs to be. So yeah, I kind of get, you know, I didn't vote for Keir Starmer. I did vote for Jeremy Corbyn both times. I haven't got the leader that I wanted this time around, but I want to make sure that that doesn't stop the policies and the social advancement that we need to have to improve people's lives.
And Jennifer, what's your view on that? I know Keir Starmer went down to Cornwall a few weeks ago, and he didn't seem to take part in any discussion with the local party. I find that is a bit of a problem. If the leadership don't engage with the members, then it does get the members' backs up. What do you think, it's possible to forgive that, or can you understand why he might have done that?
I think that we need to be really mindful going forward about how we're supposed to be operating as a party, and that's valuing all of its constituent parts. When we talk about the Labour being a broad church, that means we're all working together and valuing those inputs. So, you know, I'm quite firmly on the left and committed to those policies. That's not stopped me working with people where, you know, I can see we can work together to advance the interests of our class, and that's how the party should work. So obviously the leadership needs to do that too. We had some fantastic successes, even though we didn't quite make it. The story from Truro and Falmouth is quite a remarkable one in terms of how we've increased the vote over that Corbyn period. So there are lessons, positive lessons to be learned. So I would like to see the leadership want to do that. And I think it's a bit of a shame that that wasn't the first thing he wanted to do when he came to Cornwall. But that's not going to stop me from carry on working towards a Labour success. And I think that's what Andrew Fisher is trying to show here. It's that actually on the left, we care about the policies, we care about our class interests, and we have to stay in the party working towards those. That Keir stood on that policy platform because that's what our members wanted. The members voted him in because they want those policies to continue, and there will be pressures on him from alternate voices that are less keen on that. So we have to do him a favour and carry on maintaining that balance within the party and the pressure to make sure that those policies do bear fruit. And we want the Labour Party to be successful to make that happen. That doesn't mean we're uncritical friends. You know, we are allowed to be critical friends when necessary, where things like our response to Black Lives Matter or allowing the party to develop a hierarchy of racism. You know, we can't be silent on things like that because they are the principles that we hold dear. So I think that we absolutely have to speak out when we see things that need to be raised, because that's how we get the Labour Party to be the best that it can be. Because we're all working together. We're in the Labour Party because we want the Labour Party to be successful. And just because the leader that I voted for didn't win doesn't mean I don't want the Labour Party to be successful. So I think this story really, it's the Observer trying to pick up differences where there aren't really, and there Carrie makes some fantastic points as well about how we should all be, you know, working towards that and trying to unify the left as well, you know, trying to bring the left together and make sure, as Chris has said, you know, the trade unions and community organisations are working together as much as possible. John McDonald claimed the future idea I think is actually really interesting about working with different groups together like that. And Momentum, obviously I'm a part of, you know, we've changed the coordinating group and we're looking at how we work with other organisations like our Acorn and community groups where, you know, Labour's policy hasn't been so great recently for renters. We need to remind the party about these vulnerable groups in society that need our support, and we can do that in a positive way as we have been doing.
Thank you both for coming on. Are you there, Julia?
I am, yeah. Hi.
Hi, Julia. I just want to share this just so people know what we're talking about. You've written a blog that you put on your website that got lots of attention, and I picked it up and I said, can I put it on my website as well, please? Because you've written about there's an emerging ageism, as you've seen in the Labour Party and also outside the Labour Party. Now, I won't ruin it by misinforming everyone what you did talk about. So would you like to explain what it is what your article's about?
Yeah, thanks very much, and really great to be here and see so many people. Nice way to spend a Sunday morning. And by the way, that picture, I took that picture. I'm very, very proud of it. The one of
really?
me and the two boys.
Oh, great picture, yeah. So I should have copyrighted it. I put your name on it.
That's all right. That's okay. It's done the rounds. One of the great strengths of the Labour Party is the age range of its activists. And in my constituency, which is Islington North, we forged friendships through canvassing, campaigning and protesting in the streets, which breach the boundaries imposed by a prevailing view that that we should be stratified and defined by age. But the right-wing press continues its long tradition of ridiculing, patronising and stereotyping old people, which fits nicely with marketing strategies that slice society into generations. These ideas have leached into general conversation, and unfortunately it's not just the right making crass assumptions. A strand of people on the left have adopted the same facile stereotypes that allow the real villains to blame old people for the appalling state of the world. Here are a couple of recent social media posts by Labour Party members and leftists. The first one is, I seriously think that our world will be a better place and improve immeasurably when boomers no longer exist in it. Only problem is the untold damage to us and planet they do while they remain. Can you imagine any other group defined purely by physical characteristics being talked about like that by leftists? And here's another one. So we bide our time and wait for them to die off so they become the minority? How long do you reckon that will take? This is the backdrop to old people being abandoned to a deadly virus. 47% of the official recorded coronavirus deaths in the UK have occurred in care homes. During the spring peak, old people were triaged out of hospital and into care homes without being tested. Tens of thousands of them lost their lives, as did many of their underpaid, 0 hours contracted carers, who are disproportionately black, ethnic minority and migrant workers. We've known from early on that older people are particularly susceptible to COVID-19, but instead of that triggering extra protection, they were knowingly put in harm's way. And this, along with the already straitened situation of care homes, should have been high on the left's agenda. But although the Labour Party has confidently campaigned on PPE, on furlough payments and tenant protection, it has seemed paralysed about defending the rights of old people. Over the last 6 months, this has left the government free to pursue its eugenicist policy, downplaying these deaths as only affecting older people with underlying health conditions, people of no value. Now that schools and workplaces have reopened, older people, particularly if they're poor or from ethnic minority backgrounds or both, find themselves disproportionately vulnerable again. A lot of older people live in multi-generational households and play a crucial role in caring for grandchildren who are going to and from school, and where working family members will bring home the virus from public transport and their workplaces. Those who live alone face indefinite isolation. Routine ridiculing, degradation and blaming of old people in the cultural mainstream and on social media has allowed the government to treat us as collateral damage as they prioritise the economy over lives. It's not unusual for Tories to offload responsibility on everyone but themselves, but it's a pity their attempt to blame old people for grabbing everything at the expense of the young has permeated sections of the left. My generation, who grew up in the years following the Second World War, did benefit from functioning public services and an economy that wasn't as completely distorted as it is now. Those public services and pay rises were hard won, and we've never stopped fighting to hang on to them for everyone. Growing up in the 1950s and 60s, it was impossible to ignore the devastating impact of class on people's lives. We fought to change that, and we made real gains that saved lives, gave all generations prospects and kindled hope. In 1948, when the NHS was founded, over 65s were only 10.6% of the population. Now, or at least before the pandemic, it's 18.2%. That's an achievement, not a tragedy. But the backlash was huge. If we want to talk in terms of generations, let's talk about the miners of my generation, whose industry, communities, cultures and lives were destroyed. Let's talk about the former chemical workers in the northeast who are suffering an epidemic of depression. Let's talk about the shipbuilders, the textile workers and the car workers. These people were the majority of baby boomers. They didn't take anything from anyone. They had everything taken from them, and their children have inherited the devastation wreaked by Margaret Thatcher and the governments that followed her. This is not a generational question. Old politicians are raking in money from the tobacco industry. Young politicians are doing the dirty work of Big Pharma. Old politicians like Ulf Dubs and Jeremy Corbyn are battling for Britain to rescue child refugees. Young politicians like Zara Sultana are fighting for NHS workers twice her age to get decent pay. Old people, baby boomers, the main victims of the Windrush scandal are courageously spearheading the campaign for justice, bringing activists of all ages on board. But instead of challenging the dangerous generational response, we get tweets like this one from a supposedly radical journalist. Millennials who have survived 3 global financial crises and a pandemic don't need to be lectured by boomers who grew up with a full welfare state, affordable housing, job security, and trashed it all by the time they reached retirement. Of course, there are conflicts and differences of perspective, and some of them are naturally related to our different life experience. In 1968, I was one of the lucky 10% to go to university. Our fees were paid, we had maintenance grants, and we were not looking into an abyss of unemployment. I went back to university more recently as an old student. In the 2010 student fees campaign, it was striking how few older people were on those demonstrations. So striking that under cover of being an older woman, I was able to wander around freely among the police, listening to them discussing their tactics. It's equally true that young people have been pretty absent from the struggle to rescue social care from being offloaded onto charities, faith communities, and voracious capitalist companies. The point is that neoliberalism, which turns services into commodities and human beings into customers, affects all of us. During this pandemic, the government has earmarked 2 groups to be abandoned to the virus, supposedly to protect the economy. Old people in care homes and young people in schools. The voices of both these groups have been almost entirely absent from the media, and it's not because we've got nothing to say. Our needs are not in competition, they're linked, and allowing ourselves to be divided along spurious lines has deadly consequences. We can see this week the results of pressurising people back to work and into schools. And this morning, the Sunday Times is reporting that infection rates in care homes are rising again. This could only happen in a society that treats human beings as commodities, and where the media collude with the government by belittling and silencing old people so they can sacrifice them in the battle to save the economy, and they haven't even managed to do that. One thing we can do in the Labour Party is to challenge and protest against the ideological devaluation of old people that allows governments of all ages, but generally of one class, to triage them out of having their needs met, abandoning them to a deadly virus. Our struggle is a joint one against the greedy 1% who are exploiting this crisis at everyone else's expense.
Oh, thank you, Julia. Now, what I got from what you wrote is something I've been feeling for a while, is that the Labour Party has often, it almost seems embarrassed by older people who are members. So if you look at a membership form, it's always got young people on the front of it. It's always like, come and join Labour, we're all young. But when I go to meetings of Labour, the older people in the meetings are the most hilarious, fun to be with, have more stories to tell, more wisdom, and are actually, they should be at the front of these images of the Labour Party. And I can't really understand why Labour can't see the value of promoting older people in its promotions of the party, but also in the country and what we can do. Jeremy Corbyn, as you said, was a massive example of that. I mean, how many people mobilised behind him? And he's over 70. So
yeah, no, I agree with you that I think publicity material and all Labour Party materials and everything that the Labour Party does should reflect the whole gamut of ages and people in all their diversity. I completely agree. And our in Islington North, our CLP is a really brilliant example of that. You know, one of the most active members in our branch is in her 90s, just had her 90th birthday. But it's also brilliant that since Jeremy became leader, we've recruited so many young people. That is just a wonderful thing to have happened, that all those people have been politicised. But I think that they're being targeted with this kind of ideological attack to split them from people like me. I mean, I rejoined the Labour Party when Jeremy became leader, but there are people in our Labour Party who've been in the party for decades and decades, and their experience is really, really important. And that's a really fruitful situation.
Well, just to come back before I move on, but I just think that the older people have that experience of politics, that younger people have the energy, perhaps more than older people have lots of energy too, but the experience of seeing how sometimes people try to frustrate you, for example, in political meetings, they'll try and put the rule book at you, and younger people don't often know how to deal with that. So we do need older members to help younger members to get through these kind of pitfalls, you know, of being in politics. It's quite easy to get demoralised in politics, and those people who've been around and stuck with it for years and years are the ones we need to really keep close to. So it's wonderful that you came on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to move on now to the thing that I know you're all excited about, which is the clash of the CLPs. We've got 4 CLPs here who are all trying to get through to the semi-finals of the toughest Labour Party quiz on the planet. Jeremy, are you there?
I'm here, Crispin. Yeah. Can't see your hat though, which is a shame.
Yeah, I can see you now. Yeah, I can see your hat.
Yeah.
Good. Nice of you to join me in the hat wearing. So Jeremy, you're from Camberwell and Peckham.
That's right.
You won the first heat against Sedgefield. And we now have against you, are you ready for this, by the way, Jeremy?
I am ready.
Yeah.
Ready as ever.
We've got the Frickers from Southampton.
Morning.
Hello.
Now, are you okay, Jeremy, that there's 3 against you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Matthew, come over. Matthew's only 13.
Yeah, so that makes it more embarrassing if you don't win.
Yeah.
Joe, are you there?
Yeah, you. How are you? All right?
I'm good. Yeah, you're not wearing your CWU.
No, sorry. But can I just ask, because I've found out there's a multi-team there, I've got Becky in then. So Becky can chip in,
Okay,
can't
so
she?
there's two. Good to see. Are you social distancing?
No.
Just a big settee.
Well, that's better. Last time you were all you couldn't see each other. Now, what we're going to do is to start off with the tough questions on the pictures. Okay, so whoever comes in first will get this one. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Who is this?
Rachel Reeves.
Okay, that was Joe. So
Got a name there.
Stoke gets one, right? Next question. Who is this?
Ed Balls.
Joe got it again.
No, red balls. Yeah.
Who is...
Doesn't it?
Looks like Boy George.
Are you ready? Who is this?
Oh,
Tony
that's oh God.
with it, Dennis Ely.
He got it. Joe's got it again.
Yes, Dennis Ely. This is the war, see? Yeah, it's the war.
Come on, speak up, everyone else.
David
David Icke, yeah.
He got it again.
Yeah.
Joe got it again.
The joke was he was good on crosses.
Well, you know, I didn't know he was a footballer, but he played for Coventry City, apparently. So that's Joe's got 4, and nobody else has got anything else. So we're going on to the other questions, which are I'm going to ask the question, and it's not a picture one. Who is Labour's longest-serving MP at the moment?
Harriet Harman.
No.
Jeremy Corbyn.
No.
He's made an impact, or she.
Certainly has, obviously. The answer is Barry Shearman. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, I've heard of him, but
You've heard of him. All right. Let's
I've always been with him.
that's about it.
right. This is a question to... Right, so I think what we've got now, we've got Joe. Joe has qualified for the semi-final, right, because he's got so many that you can't catch up with him.
Yeah, fair enough.
But now it's now between Camberwell and Peckham
Come on.
and Southampton. I mean, that's...
I am out of sleep, you know.
So, Joe, I'm going to mute you because you'll be tempted to speak up and give away the answer. Right. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give this one to Camberwell and Peckham first because you were the first to get through. I want you to give me your estimate for the largest number of candidates in a particular constituency election. How many candidates stood in the largest ballot paper?
In 2019?
No, in history.
In history? How many?
The largest number of candidates in an election was?
I'm going to go for 15.
15?
Yeah.
Right. The Frickers, what do you say? Higher or lower than that? As
Higher.
Right.
For a Brucey bonus, higher.
Well, I'll tell you what, the answer is 15. Jeremy, with a blinder there. Right. Okay. Right, now I'll go to the Frickers now. It's your turn. So it's 1-0 to Camberwell. The Frickers, right. Now, what is the shortest period that anyone was an MP in history?
Shortest period. 2 days.
2 days, right? Okay. Jeremy, is it longer than 2 days or shorter?
It's longer. I would say 9, as in Lady Jane Grey.
The answer is 1 day.
Yay!
apparently they had a car accident on the way the day after they got elected.
Yeah.
What a disaster. Anyway, sorry for whoever
He was
might
Shadow
be.
Minister of Transport.
Now here's an open question, right? So whoever gets it. So it's 1-1 at the moment. Who is the oldest candidate to lose their seat ever?
Dennis Skinner.
The Fricker's got it.
Yay!
Well done.
Me
Well
and
done.
Matthew.
Well done.
And
That'll
that
compensate
puts
you for
you.
losing to Crystal Palace yesterday.
What's
Yeah,
that?
yeah, cheers, mate.
Oh, I see. You're digging about football, right? Okay. So what we have, I'm sorry, Jeremy, that you couldn't make it through, especially as you put a hat on and everything for it.
Yeah. There's somebody there with a hat on who looks like he's outside in my backyard. I don't know if you are. Oh, he's waving. Hang on. Let's get your name. Say hello
I'll see
before I
you
go.
again.
Hello, Paul. What are you doing in my backyard?
Well, so going through to the semi-final, we've got Southampton and Stoke South, and we'll have the next quarter-final next week, and we'll put Glenn in there from South East Cornwall. See if he can do South East Cornwall proud. Right. So,
Me. Hello.
Oh, there she
hi,
is.
Suzy.
I'm definitely not hungover.
Now you weren't here last week because you had family issues. But I sort of made a suggestion. It's something to do with your boyfriend, but that's not.
Oh no. On Sundays he's with his family. So no, my nephew's doing very well in the under-18s football world. So I had to watch him play. I was on the gin last night. Hence the dressing gown. I'm laying on my bed waiting for Columbo. So it's Sunday
Right.
Columbo Day.
Look, we've got a story here for you about sleeping. How are you three for sleeping? Do you sleep a lot, Patrick?
Oh, God, do you know what, Crispin? I read this story. It said an average hours of 6 hours a night for people. I thought I'd love to have 6 hours. Geez, I'm up at the crack of dawn. Crispin, we've got, I don't know if everyone knows this, but we've got a dog, and our little dog, he's up at 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, wants to go outside for a wee. And to be fair, it's not just him. I'm always up at 3 and 5. I want to have a wee as well. So we just go out to the garden and just wee. You know, we just have a nice, and it does sort of ruin your sleep. It's a bit of a nightmare. But this was the thing that, the most shocking thing about this story was that it was saying that, they're saying that a lack of sleep leads to people putting weight on, obesity. And I can tell you this, that is not a link whatsoever. The reason that we've all been putting weight on, and me included, is because we've got massive snack drawers. It's nothing to do with sleep. I've got cupboards full of chocolates, sweets, all sorts of biscuits. And it doesn't matter whether I'm tired or not, I'll be eating them. And this is the problem. We've got to stop Cadbury's from making flake adverts. You know them adverts where they get a woman or a young fella just laid in a bath, just stuffing a flake in his mouth or in a mouth or floating on a boat. We've got to stop all that. We've got to say, look, if you just want to have sweets, go and stand on a treadmill for an hour and then just start eating sweets.
Do you sleep, John?
Yeah, I sleep. I sleep more than 8 hours, but I think the problem with Patrick is he's been sleeping in his kitchen. That's why. So, that's why having all those snacks. I try and stay away from that. The lockdown has made me quite lazy, so I've been sleeping more than usual. But I've been really lucky where in my day job I'm working less hours for the same pay, so I can get all the sleep I want, which is great. So yeah.
Suzy, do you get enough sleep, or are you too much into Columbo?
I probably get too much sleep. And I watch Columbo all the time, but I go to sleep. I always watch an episode of Frasier before I go to sleep. That's my little routine. That's like my comfort thing. But I've been trying to sleep longer hours because I've been attempting this intermittent fasting diet, which means you don't eat for like 12 to 16 hours. So that I've decided that's the best way is just to sleep and then get up and eat again. So that's my excuse for oversleeping. But I have been getting up at 10 for the spin to wins back on this morning. Yay! So I'm still clinging on to the hope that I might win some money.
Spin to win. Oh, and what I found funny about that story, I have to say, was you don't get surveys about sleep or something like that unless it's got some kind of company behind it. Slumber Down. have sort of done a survey saying, yeah, people aren't sleeping enough. And by the way, we do really good beds and pillows. And
nobody probably
if you have our pillows, you'll sleep much better. I mean, it's like, why can't you just do it for the good of humanity?
Yeah, just stay up. I thought he was trying to sell one of them apps. You know where they have their meditation apps where they go, do you know what? People aren't sleeping enough. So why don't you download our app and listen to whale music and sounds of nature at night? And I tried it once and it's a bloody nightmare because I was sleeping. I'm suddenly waking up and I'm thinking, I can't sleep because there's a whale in my house. I've got to go try that. I think there's some wolves upstairs. I've got to go and find these animals. So it's a bit, always
What about this story as well that about the about people in lockdown all getting into old hits, and some of these have gone really high in the Spotify charts, like wanna get a good man in Africa. Do you think that's do you think that's something you get into? You getting nostalgic? Do you think about the old days in lockdown?
Yeah. Can you just stop saying old hits, Crispin, because you're forgetting about people like me. I'm the oldest person on this old bloody Zoom, and these hits in the 80s, we all listen to them, don't we?
I still think that 1990 was 10 years ago.
Same there.
Never mind lockdown. I was listening to 90s music anyway.
Yeah.
It's nostalgia.
I remember.
Have you been watching Cobra Kai on Netflix, the Karate Kid spin-off? The nostalgia in that is, and I think everyone's sort of loving it because of this nostalgia of the 80s and the old rock songs. And I made my boyfriend a mixtape for his birthday, and we were dancing around the living room to 80s rock and a little bit of Shania Twain. I'm loving it. Loving a mixtape, by the way. Best present ever. If you ever want to impress Lily, Pat, get a mixtape.
The problem is I give Lily mixtapes, I give her CDs, vinyl, whatever. She just takes them to the car boot sale and tries to sell them. She doesn't understand this is me showing how much I love her. I said, she wouldn't even know what to take me.
I love my 80s music, Crispin, and the thing is, I live with my overbearing Indian mother, so throughout the lockdown, I want to break free. Don't stop me now, I'm not having a good time at all, so, you know.
I always do the cleaning. I put on the Heart 80s when I'm cleaning, and they always play the same tunes over it. It's always John Farnham, You're the Voice. That's always on.
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant stuff. This is the problem, though. The problem is people are listening back to classics from the 80s or 90s is because there is no current singers in the last decade or 2 decades who've got more than one song. I mean, look at One Direction, bless them. It's not like a sneeze would kill off their back catalogue, never mind Corona. They've done one song between them, and the problem is these songs don't last because then they all go off to work on ITV2+7 to become like a presenter. You think just work at your craft, be a singer. Nobody does that now, do they? There's no point. You're only going to be a singer now because you think, oh, I've got loads of viewers on TikTok, or I've got some people who are watching on YouTube. So they make a song that's 50 seconds long. There's no words. It's all just emojis, and then just like a beat behind it. And we can't listen to that. We need proper lyrics like, I saw the rain down in Africa. You know, things like that. Very emotional. Things that make sense.
Do any one of you want to sing just before we move on to Rob? Is there anyone have an urge to sing? Are you good at singing, Suzy? You look like you could sing.
Well, after last night's gin, I'm not very good. But I don't know if you remember this song, but my niece was around yesterday and she was on her TikTok. You know, they all do the little TikTok videos, the youths. And I was looking over her shoulder, and I was trying to have a look, and she said, "Don't mess with my TikTok." And then my mum, Jean, the legend, sang, "Don't mess with my TikTok" in the tune of, do you remember that hit, "Don't Mess with My Toot Toot" from the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
That's going back a bit. They don't play that on Heart 80s, but she was like, "Don't mess with my TikTok." So I don't know if you remember that classic song, "Don't Mess with My Toot Toot." But we did laugh for about 10 minutes. Jean is a comedy legend.
Yeah.
We're going to have Carol on at the end, so we'll see what Carol
will know about the toot.
Carol,
she'll remember that song.
Her back catalogue.
Carol's in the garden having a rave. She's been slept for 3 days. Carol, she's loving it.
But we're going to bring Rob in now. Rob?
Yeah, hello. Morning all.
Are you having a good day?
It's been a really good programme today, so yes.
Oh, well,
one of your better efforts, I think. And that's
thank you.
thank
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, not down to me, not down to everyone else. I'm just wearing the jacket. I just get to wear the jacket. Gives me a bit of status.
No, it's really good today. Really informative.
Now you have written a song for this show. It was actually for last show, but it's moved on to this show. So what's Pennies? What's this song about? Pennies.
Yeah, it was when you're talking about how old people aren't valued, and it's about basically how people we aren't valued. None of us are valued. We're commodified. We just turned into opportunities for economic gain. And I thought Julia's absolutely right when she says that the government is now attacking the most vulnerable people it can get its hands on that can't argue back, because when they're attacking the old people and also young people, sending people to school, old people, young people, we're all expendable. Because old Boris has said the most important thing is to get the economy working again, and no one seems to challenge him on that. It's like he can get away with saying nonsense like that, and no one challenges him on that. And so the song's about how we become commodified, how neoliberalism has managed to turn young children into economic units by creating a system which requires greedy bastard private nurseries, and old people greedy bastard private care homes and care attendants. Tick tock, here you are now, baby. Tick tock, we love you so. Penny, tick tock, here's a warehouse full of babies. Tick tock, and off we go. Tick tock, to work to pay the warehouse. See the warehouse owner's lovely car. Tick tock, see the workers working, polishing the owner's lovely car. Commodity, 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 commodity makes the economy go round. Tick tock, looking after pennies, that's not really work, that's really hard. Tick tock, not like merchant banking, that's the kind of work we should reward. Tick tock, pennies working in a warehouse. Tick tock, the years go by. Just close your eyes and watch TV and think of the economy. Be a good girl, baby, don't ask why. Commodity, 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 commodity makes the economy go round. Tick tock, in the drinker's warehouse, how they pile us high and sell us cheap. Tick tock, Penny spends her pension on little dreams before she falls asleep. Outside, trees fill up with blossom, wild horses ride the waves. Outside, the trees turn red and golden, Penny counts the pennies that she saved. Commodity, 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 commodity makes the economy go round. The economy must be obeyed, the rules of commerce, the laws of trade. God bless the economy and save the Queen. Give us this day our daily nuclear submarine. Tick tock, here you are now, Granny. Tick tock, here's your care home. Penny, tick tock, the warehouse of lost memories. Tick tock, off you go. Tick tock, how those warehouses make money for all those lovely cars we have to buy. Tick tock, here time is only money, till death us do commodify. Commodity, 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 commodity makes the economy go round. Oh, commodity, 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 commodity makes the economy go round. The Good girl, baby, don't ask why.